You have mainstream Republicans against you. You have all the Democrats against you. You have 90% of the media against you, against people who will lie, cheat, steal, or even murder. And I mean that, who would even murder if they had to get Trump out of there.
Hey friends, Sean from SGT Report.tv and SGTReport.com, and of course the BitChute channel. Hey, I recorded this interview with Sheriff Richard Mack yesterday, and today we all know what happened. November 7th, 2020, the day the mainstream media, big tech, and the Democrat machine plunged the dagger into the heart of our republic, naming Joe Biden winner. They believe their soft coup is nearly complete. The president has responded, and the mainstream media has promptly ignored it. The president said, in part, "We all know why Joe Biden is rushing to falsely pose as the winner and why his media allies are trying so hard to help him. They don't want the truth to be exposed." I'll jump down to the end. So what is Biden hiding? "I will not rest until the American people have the honest vote count they deserve and that democracy demands." President Donald J. Trump. I'll leave the link below so you can read that entire statement for yourself. Now, my last video, Smoking Gun Electronic Vote Fraud Caught Live on CNN, has gone somewhat viral with 130,000 views in just the last 15 hours. And trust me, that's a lot of views for BitChute. It's must-see evidence of computer vote switching caught live on CNN while the mainstream media appoints Joe Biden as the winner and next president, while calling any claim of election fraud or vote tampering 100% unfounded. Now, if you haven't seen that video yet, you can watch it at sgtreport.tv or on my SGT Report BitChute channel. Please be sure to subscribe. Now, friends, before we begin, just a quick word from this interview's sponsor. Now, friends, we're all feeling tremendous stress, and stress is not good for you or your body. One thing you can try is Ageless Multi-Collagen. All you need is 1 scoop a day. Collagen is vital for your skin, hair, joints, tendons, bone, and gut health. And most people don't realize that their natural collagen levels deplete about 10% every decade. So supplementing your collagen is one of the single biggest things you can do for your physical and mental health. It's what I'm doing, and there's no better collagen on the market than Ageless Multi-Collagen. So grab a bag today while it's still 51% off. And as an added bonus, if you order today, you'll get free shipping, free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free e-report on the 14 foods for amazing skin, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to healthwithsgt.com or click the link right below this video. Hey friends, welcome back. Thank you for being here. We very much appreciate you, especially those of you that might be tuning in at sgtreport.tv and who have become members to support the work in lieu of Patreon terminating my page there after 3+ years, and YouTube, of course, doing the same to my 2 YouTube channels. Guys, I've got on my good friend Sheriff Richard Mack from cspoa.org, and we're going to break down this political street fight. That's what it is. That's what Dan Bongino is calling it. We've just entered a political street fight, and we are not going to give up. We will fight for the Republic. Sheriff Mack, thanks for coming on.
Sean, thanks for having me this very historic time in America. A very disconcerting, unsettling, and downright scary time for America.
It really is. I said to my wife last night, and then I tweeted about it, if the Democrats and their machine are able to get away with this engineered, manufactured win, the rigged vote counting, if it's allowed to continue, and then President Trump just gives up and hands over the mantle to Joe Biden, what is to stop these people, Richard, from passing a law that says it's illegal to be a Christian or infanticide is legalized? What's to stop them if they can get away with this?
Nothing. And that's what I've said all along. I think we're already having infanticide, so much to the point that abortion is now called by them in their brainwashing of American, especially our youth, that it's a constitutional right. And so that's how far down we've gone. But yeah, all of it put together, the destruction of our Constitution, the destruction of liberty, they are after that monopoly of power They want an entire blue monopoly. They can't get it in every state. They know that, but they can get it nationally. And Washington, D.C. is already so corrupt. We've seen that, how they've gone after Trump for the last 4 years. But it was before then, too. I mean, look at the people who run for office. Look at what the people who are in office, what they do. And it's astonishing that they get away with so much corruption, so much dishonesty, and quite frankly, so much criminal activity. And I can document for you the bureaucracies and the politicians who have committed crime after crime after crime, and nothing happens. Because just as you alluded to, Sean, they have complete control over the judicial branch, most of the judicial branch, a good majority of the judicial branch, a good majority of the legislative branch, and now they're going to pretty much take over the executive branch. In fact, completely at the national level. And so, what your question begs, Sean, is that yes, they could pass any law they want. And the British did that. And it was one of the reasons why we fought the Revolutionary War. And we've gone full circle. In Revolutionary War times, in fact, it was just a few years before the Revolutionary Wars was the Declaration of Independence, it was called the Declaratory Act. And to shove it in the face of the colonists, the English Parliament and King George III said, "Okay, we'll give you something. We'll repeal the Stamp Act." And then in their next breath, they said, "But we're passing a law called the Declaratory Act." And in it, it said, we can legislate to you, about you, and regarding you, anything we want. And Thomas Paine, one of my favorite founding fathers, the best author of any of the founding fathers, who wrote Common Sense and the American Crisis, everybody knows his beginning of that. These are the times that try men's souls. That's Thomas Paine. And he said in his writing that the Declaratory Act was the same as them legislating slavery. And he said, if the Declaratory Act is not slavery, then there is not slavery upon earth. And that's the exact same thing that you're saying. They are going to legalize capriciousness. They can do anything they want without any reason. They can do whatever, for whatever reason they want, without any repercussions, because they're going to have everybody in their pocket. This is one thing I want to explain to you and your loyal listeners and viewers. This is what scared me the most just recently, and it got passed over. I mean, it got a little attention, but it still nevertheless got passed over, and it was this. Biden at first and Kamala Harris wouldn't say anything about it when they were put on the spot about answering, are you going to stack the deck in the Supreme Court? And finally, so many people in the Democratic Party have already said that they're going to, in response to Amy Coney Barrett being nominated, which was quite honestly hypocritical on the Republicans' part, especially Mitch McConnell. However, it was not illegal. And that's how politics works in Washington, D.C. It's just selfish politics, and you do what you want because you get to. Republicans are guilty of some of this too. But the answer now is yes, they are going to, and because they want complete control. They're willing to state to all the world that we're going to put Democrat hacks in there who we know will do what we tell them, who will side with us, not keep their oath, not side with the Constitution, not side with the law. They will be hacks for us, and we will need probably to make the court 13, because 11 makes it 6-5. So they're going to go 13 so they can have a 7-6 Supreme Court in their favor that will completely be dishonest, corrupt, and do what they're told.
We cannot let them do that, Sheriff Mack. And
But they're
here's the
going
thing.
to.
Well, they're not going to get away with it if we fight, because if there are actual vote counts, if there are recounts in these states with actual observers, the fake ballots, the invalid ballots, the phony ballots, the vote fraud will be flushed out. And here's the problem. These people don't want us watching them count the votes.
I know.
Why would they behave that way? There's only one reason. It's because they are involved in fraud. That's the only reason you wouldn't want observers to watch you counting the votes. Meanwhile, the whore mainstream mockingbird media is saying to the American people there is zero evidence of vote fraud. Zero evidence of vote fraud. But if you go to Twitter, Sheriff Mack, you can see all of the evidence of vote fraud. Sarah Westall, my friend, she notes, and this is all because of citizen research, 14,000 dead people who voted in Wayne County, Michigan. So you can subtract those 14,000 votes. The evidence of the fraud goes on and on and on. And the mainstream media says there's nothing to see here.
Oh, of course. Yeah, the Wizard of Oz. Yeah, the thing of it is, Sarah's not the only one. Candace Owens has reported the same thing. And you could on and on down the list. But this is the situation. They're not going to do it, and they've never done it. This is cheating in elections has been happening for a long time. As a matter of fact, I started 25 years ago trying to get the state of Arizona votes, and all it would require is 1 to 2% of all the ballots, and it used to be the hanging chad, that they require a audit, just 1 to 2% audit done by hand by both Democrats and Republicans together, and you verify the vote. You cannot have computerized voting and think that it's not going to be hacked and do stuff like you're just talking about with dead people voting. If you will verify the vote, everything should be done by paper ballot. But if you're not going to do that, then you must count and audit at least 1 to 2% every vote in every state. And people say, oh, that'll take too long. You're the one that created this problem, not us. Deal with it and verify the vote. If a paper ballot was it, you should have your name printed and then signed on every ballot. That way, you can do a paper trail back to the person who actually voted. The way we do it now, you cannot.
Did you see the president's press conference on Thursday night?
Yes.
All of the mainstream media networks, with the exception of Fox News, bailed out of that presser with President Trump after just a couple of minutes. They don't want the American people to even hear that he thinks that there's vote fraud. And why do you think that they deplatformed all of those political channels on YouTube on October 15th? They don't want us telling the American people or showing the vote fraud. So I guess Bongino's right. This is a political street fight. I mean, we either give up or we fight to prevent this theft. We fight to prevent this fraud, because that's what it is. It's clear fraud all over the country. And what are they saying over on CNN? They're saying the president is racist, to call the machine in Detroit and Philadelphia corrupt.
Why is he talking about Detroit? Why is he talking about Philadelphia? Yeah. It's not subtle. It's race. It's race. It's Donald Trump's go-to play. And it's disgusting. So I just want to say that.
I appreciate you teeing it up. It's unbelievable that he can say these cities are known for corruption, et cetera, et cetera. Why are you singling out these two black cities?
Yeah, if you call crooks crooks, all of a sudden you're a racist. Yeah. Well, they've been, well, that's not all of a sudden. They've been trying to pin him as a racist since he first started running. And yet I've asked people, show me, give me a quote, put it on YouTube, show me his racist statements. Now, don't show me his stupid comments. I'll admit he's made some stupid comments here. None of those compare to Joe Biden. But show me where, well, they said, well, he didn't denounce white supremacy in the debate. I said, I admit that he hesitated a little bit there, but he has before and he has since. I said, but this is the deal. Show me his racist statements. They always bring up that he talked bad about illegal aliens and that they were rapists and murderers and drug dealers. And I've said that from the very beginning. It's very well documented that that is happening across the border. He didn't say everybody was. He said there are some that do that. But even so, who is he talking about? The people from Argentina, the people from El Salvador, or the people from Guatemala, or the people from Mexico? And those are a lot of different shades of color in that, especially in Argentina. They're very light complected. So where do you go with that? I'm dark complected. I'm not white. I'm very dark tan or light brown. And people who make that kind of differentiation, it has never mattered to Donald Trump. And so the other racist comment was that he wanted to bar people from enemy states and terrorist supported states in the Middle East, and it was only one country. Well, he was told that he was a racist because he did that. He made no racist comments. And so this has all been race baiting by the press and by the global elitists and the Democrats and sometimes the never Trumpers. It's never been honest. It's never been fair. And is there any wonder that all of this is happening now to make sure that they're out? I did like Trump's part about where he called the media to task on the polling and their predictions.
Right.
And that he said, they're not stupid.
No, that was election meddling, absolutely, for Fox News to call Arizona for Biden so early in the night when they're still counting the votes now today, and Fox News refuses to take those electoral votes off the tally for Biden. No, it's completely crooked. Yeah, it's completely crooked. Hey, let me ask you about Arizona. What do you make of what's going on in Maricopa County? Because my understanding is the guy in charge of counting the votes is in the pocket of the Democrats, 110%.
Oh, he is. There's no question he is. However, and you know I live in Maricopa County, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So my son, my wife, and I all voted. My son was out of town, and he sent his ballot to me. I checked the ballot to make sure that it was all done correctly. It was, and I mailed it in for him. That's it. Okay. We looked up his vote on the internet, and it said it was canceled.
Yep.
Why was it canceled? We don't know. No one answers. They said, well, call us and we'll try to take care of it over the phone. How is it that I can call and verify a vote over the phone and they'll change it and go ahead and count it?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, there's 100% vote fraud here in this criminal mainstream media that has been saying that the president was in the pocket of Russia. For 4 years they've been saying that, all based on lies. They knew it because they are in bed with the Democrats. They're saying nothing to be seen here. Check out this clip. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, listen to this. This is from your home state.
It's almost 8 o'clock. I don't know if this is in the public news yet. About an hour and a half ago, federal investigators are in Phoenix. And when they began looking around, when they began opening up closets and going through drawers and trash cans at voting precincts today, over 70,000 ballots were found. Wait. And out of the 70,000 ballots that were found, 44,893 were votes for President Trump.
That's 65% of the vote. Sheriff Mack, do you know how many batches of votes have gone missing? I mean, I don't, but I bet you it is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of ballots across the country, and then they stack the deck with phony ballots, mail-in ballots, and they just keep counting until they can manufacture a win. And that's what the president is most perturbed about. That's what I'm the most perturbed about. Election fraud is one thing, but to just keep counting ballots until you can manufacture a win and to not allow anybody to watch you count those ballots to make sure the ballots are legal. And by the way, they're not actually legal if they're all coming in after the election. This whole thing is a fraud. It's illegitimate. It's illegitimate. Think of it this way. What if the Democrats already were in control of the Supreme Court, if they were in control of the Congress and the Senate, and they had their puppet in the White House, and they signed into a law that all Christians must turn themselves in to go to concentration camps or disavow their faith in Jesus Christ? Would that be legitimate or would that be illegitimate? Because what we're seeing right now is 100% illegitimate.
If you can call it a law or if you can call it a statute, they claim legitimacy right there. In the book, The Law, written by Frederick Bastiat, he said just the opposite. A law being a law does not make it respectable or legitimate. And Jefferson said, what is law but tools of the tyrant? And that's all we're going to see from the Democrat monopoly after it takes place in January. I don't see this changing much for Trump. There's nobody investigating it. And to finish your question about Maricopa County, no one would do anything about my son's vote. My wife and I were very concerned when we voted, and we were doing it with the Sharpie because it was more than obvious that it was bleeding over on the other side. And it wasn't, it almost looked like the same as on both sides. So we went and complained to the guy in charge. He says, no, this will happen. This is fine. So Trump joined that lawsuit of people doing that. But the attorney general, a Republican, and I tell you right now that some of the Republicans are part of this and part of the problem.
Yeah.
And it's been not just that.
John Kerry comes to mind.
Been a lot of different things, a lot of different issues on this. And so the attorney general of the state of Arizona said that he went and checked with the guy that you were mentioning earlier. I don't remember his name. The guy in charge of Maricopa County voting.
Fontes, I think.
So he went and checked with him. He said, I looked at what he was doing. I looked at all of the stuff that they were doing and counting the votes. And it all seems to be copacetic. It all looks like it's working like it's supposed to. And so he's not going to investigate.
But here's the thing. They went too far. They went too far. Look, the fraud is so massive and so obvious, it should be very, very easy to reveal in any sort of forensic recounting of the votes, in any sort of fair counting of the votes. Trump had obviously 10 times the support of Biden. I don't think I'm overstating that. Look at the rallies. All right, so then let's look at this. We are not going to give up our country to these people. Donald Trump Jr., if you think this is all a coincidence, you're an idiot. These are statistical impossibilities. Biden outperforms senators in swing states, underperforms in Virginia, New Hampshire, Rhode Island. Biden underperforms Hillary and Obama in cities, except in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin. Biden mail-in dumps with 100% margins, like the 28,000 some votes that turned up where? I think Detroit. GOP loses 0 House races. Something is definitely off. Yeah, something's definitely wrong. I could go on and on. I'd like to show you more evidence of the fraud, but we are not going to give up this fight, man, because if we do, we give up our country. We literally deliver our country on a silver platter to Marxists.
Yeah, there's no question about what you're saying. Where my, I hate to say apathy. It's not apathy. It's the realism of what they've done for decades in this country to keep us under control and to keep their own elections going the way they want. Because I believe, without any question, that the same globalists that own the Democrats own the Republicans. And I really do believe at the highest level. Now, I'm a registered Republican, but I believe, one, George Washington said, a two-party system will destroy our country. That the only focus is who can win, whose team will win this game, and that's all it is. It has nothing to do with individual liberty, has nothing to do with American ideals, has nothing to do with following and enforcing the Constitution. It's all about money, greed, power, and lust for power. And who's in control and how we can control the masses. They're not going to let it change for Trump.
Yeah, I think that's just a little bit too cynical because, look, we the people just care about the Bill of Rights and Constitution, and the president stands for the Second Amendment rights of we the people. The president made it really clear that his average donation to the campaign was $60. So we average Joes were donating to the campaign. Meanwhile, corporations in Wall Street were flooding Biden with money. So it's
Right.
really clear that there is a difference between these two parties. And if we give up and just let the Democrats take
No,
it,
no, not two parties. Maybe the two candidates, but I've been around this so long. When I was in the sixth grade, I was following Goldwater versus Johnson, and I have been very involved in politics ever since then. I can tell you about Muskie and McGovern and Reagan's and his fight and how Carter came to be and how Carter only stayed in one. I mean, I go way back in all of this, but it's just convinced me that the global elitists who are in charge and the people who are really own both parties, they are being successful. I predicted this was going to happen. I predicted this horrible communist socialist takeover of America at this election. And I said this not recently, I said it a year and a half ago on the Liberty Roundtable with Sam Bushman. Believe me, I try to stay positive in all of this, and I agree with you. We need to fight and stand for our country. But I will go back to the solution that I think is the only one, and that is for sheriffs to erect the barriers in their counties with their people. I would love to see an investigation, do all this. They're not gonna recount this. They're not gonna do what I've been fighting for 25 years and just do paper ballots or do an audit on there. They're not going to. Republicans refuse to do that. Republicans right here in this state of Arizona and in Utah refused to do that. And so when Republicans act like Democrats and socialists, it's really hard not to call them on it.
yeah.
And I have.
Well, let's round out the conversation and talk about sheriffs. Here's a
Okay.
problem. I don't know if you saw this, but evidently there was a court order coming out of Pennsylvania requiring the vote counters to allow in Republican or conservative observers,
Right.
and the vote counters refused to let those people in, and then the sheriff refused to enforce the court order.
Correct.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
and
sheriffs don't help us if they won't obey the Constitution.
yeah, and I've told you this on your show before. We're not going to get all sheriffs, and especially in Pittsburgh, and that's where that is. And we're not going to get the sheriff in Philadelphia. And then the biggest problem in all of Pennsylvania is that they've taken away the power of sheriffs legislatively at the sheriffs in Pennsylvania to have arrest authority or investigative authority, and they've been relegated to being paper servers and guardians or wardens of their local jails. And so most sheriffs, except for Allegheny County, Pittsburgh, or Philadelphia, I think that's Hamilton County or whatever county, maybe it's Philadelphia County, I don't know. But I've worked in Pennsylvania 10 years and with many sheriffs there to try to get the legislature to back off of that. And local law enforcement and state police campaign against that every time, and they lobby against it. Do not give the sheriffs this type of power or independence. And that's happened in Massachusetts and Rhode Island and Delaware, and Connecticut voted sheriffs out entirely. They don't even have the office of sheriff anymore. So the attack on sheriffs is part of this whole takeover that you're talking about. And so, yeah, we've got to keep this going, and we've got to build these defenses. But it's an uphill battle. I'm willing to do it, and I'm willing to stand with you in Washington D.C. and any place else. But here in Arizona, I mean, who are we going to get to prosecute this? We can't even get anybody to investigate it.
Right.
And the complaints of those fake ballots and being found, all of a sudden ballots turn up, and we're supposed to have people in there watching, and they say, yeah, the law says that, but the whole system is against us. And where do you turn? You file another motion before a different judge. You take it to the Supreme Court, which is where a lot of this, I think, is going to head. But I still don't look for much happening.
The thing that really worries me is that even if right is on our side and everything can be proven that there was vote fraud, the mainstream media will stand with the Democrats, and the mainstream media will say that Trump is declaring a coup by not exiting the White House in January.
That's right.
And the mainstream media will drum up some sort of, I shudder to think what the mainstream media will drum up. Because all they do is lie.
They're already going after me. They're already going after you. They're already going after Trump, and they will go after anybody and everybody that they can. And I don't care. They can come after me. They've done it before. I've never backed down from a fight. But I'm sorry that I'm sounding so cynical or negative. I'm just stating the truth, and I don't think there's anything that we're going to be able to do if we don't get some Republicans to prosecute or to investigate, which seems to be the case. They've already put out this evidence about this. Nobody's doing anything about it. You know, people say, well, let's go arrest the judges, let's go arrest the governors, let's go arrest Congress. Who's going to prosecute it? And who's going to do the investigations? And so I know there's a good 800 sheriffs in this country. I think that's the only place we have to focus. I really do.
All right.
I've gone through this for years and years and years. How I was thrown out of office. You know, I continue to fight after that. You know what? I've run for Congress 3 times. And the system is so totally stacked against you. And when I ran as a Republican 2 different times, all the Republicans cared about at the local and county level, they're bought and paid for. They only will work for the incumbent, not the best candidate. And and even the conservative media. I was on a radio show with Joe Pags out of San Antonio, and he was interviewing me, and he got, who's the former senator from Pennsylvania? A real conservative guy, very religious. And he got him on the show, and he asked him, because he was critical of me. Joe Pags was criticizing me for running against Lamar Smith. And he said, who should we really vote for here? This new guy, former sheriff, who's only been in Texas for about a year, or Lamar Smith, who's been a wonderful congressman? Not perfect, but a wonderful congressman. And then that guy, oh gosh, his name almost came out right then. He said we should always vote for the conservative candidate. So he cut him off, and he cut me off, and he just left the whole thing. Because I won that debate against Joe Pags, and he would have nothing to do with it. I don't know if you've ever heard of Joe Pags, but he's really big out of San Antonio, and he's subbed for, I think, Rush or some other big national guys, Hannity before and stuff. And he's really big. And these conservative hosts, if you go against their agenda, if you go against the Republican agenda, they'll go after you. And I've been a victim of that. And you know what? I'm still a registered Republican, and I still hope that we'll get back, and I still hope Trump wins, but I don't think he's going to, and I predicted this. And I'm sorry I did, and I'm not proud of it. But like I said, I donated to Trump. I'll do anything to get him back in there. If he runs in 4 years, I'll probably be all over it.
Well, here's the thing. You predicted that they would essentially steal the election, and that's what they're doing. Because he didn't win in any sort of lawful count of the votes.
Yeah.
Biden did not win.
But that's what I said.
Trump did not lose. No, I know.
Let me add what I said. I said you have mainstream Republicans against you. You have all the Democrats against you. You have 90% of the media against you, against people who will lie, cheat, steal, or even murder. And I mean that. Who would even murder if they had to get Trump out of there.
I 100% agree. Sheriff Richard Mack, the organization is cspoa.org. Is that the best place for people to find you?
It is, and it's the best place to get involved with taking our America back, one county at a time, sheriff by sheriff.
All right. Thank you so much for your time today. I very much appreciate it. We don't have to agree on everything. Look, I have guests on all the time with whom I don't fully agree. And
Sean, I love you like a brother. You've been amazing, and I will stand with you anytime.
Thank you, and I would do the same for you. Our guest has been Sheriff Richard Mack, a good guy, a patriot, and yes, we're all feeling a little dubious. We're all feeling a little worn out. We're all feeling a little run down at this point. They're putting us through the meat grinder, guys. They really are. But like Dan Bongino said, it's a political street fight now. Guys, I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I'll remind you that SGTReport.tv is the best way to support me and my little team. And we very much appreciate our members there. You'll get all of the exclusive content there. And, of course, SGTReport.com is the place to go for real news 24/7. Guys, thanks so much. God bless. Bye-bye.